He says he lost his hair teaching, writing, or consulting. Well, you see the proof. He comes from a company that teaches us that you can be serious without a suit. That would be Google. All of that's true, so let's hear it. Cédric, merci.
Thanks, Harry. Yes, I'm a lawyer and I'm French. Nobody's perfect. You could have said this to you. Harry, you started this morning and you described your holidays when you were sharing your house. I would like to share the story of us coming to Copenhagen yesterday. I say us because I come with my love and my little son. And we left the plane, and the first thing we could eat there, not even when you're going to the main airport terminal, just before, as you leave the plane, you can buy sausage. And it smells sausages everywhere. And what you can buy, it seems that all the booths, all the places where you can buy stuff is only sausages. So I don't know what's happening with sausages here, or maybe at the terminal in Copenhagen, but it's quite surprising. Of course, you, for those of you who are Danish, you will say, well, this is not the kind of sausage we are selling at the airport. These are German sausages. They're different, probably. And why do I want to start with this is that you may think that you're looking at sausages on the screen, but it's also something different. You're also watching a work of art. And why that? Because this photo has been at the center of a dispute, a copyright dispute in Germany. And the question was whether or not this is subject to copyright. And a court in Germany found that, well, this is protected. And why is this protected? Because for a work, for any creation to be protected by copyright, you need to reach a threshold of originality. You need to show that this is the author's intellectual creation. And who decides this? Not me, not you, not critics of art. It's the court. And courts tend to have a generous approach of what is creativity, what is originality. And so this is an example of a photo where it was found that the criteria, the legal criteria for copyright protection were met. So this is a work of art. And please now look at the world around you only with the eyes of a lawyer, and you will see that works of art are everywhere. And basically that's the idea. Copyright applies to almost everything. If you look at, again, the standards which distinguish works which are copyrighted or works which are not. Again, the key question is whether or not it's original, and original is not something you should look at from an aesthetics perspective. It's again from a legal perspective. All photos of kitties, etc., everything is part of copyright. So it means that again, copyright is everywhere, and because we're all making photos. You and we're all making photos. I just saw Merete, and I have to stop here because I completely forgot to thank the organizers for inviting me, and thank for your patience, thanks for everything you did. So sorry for this. I dived into the presentation, I forgot this. So you're all taking photos. We are all taking photos, maybe not this lady here. It's not a question of generation. During the last panel this morning, someone assumed that Creative Commons licenses are for young people, but not for old people. No, look, there are people who are not using phones, even though they're younger than this lady. Basically, again, we are all empowered. We have the tools to make things, to make creations, which, legally speaking, are creations. It's clear that now everyone is creating, and creating maybe sometimes despite of our own will. Sometimes you would like to share stuff, but because the creation, the photos you make, or automatically falling into the copyright category, you may not want to do what you want to do with them, or you may not allow others to do what they would like, or what you would like them to do with them. Because again, copyright might interfere with your will, without even you knowing. Sometimes you don't know your creations are copyrighted, and you don't know that others care about copyright, and so They believe you might be wanting to let them reuse your photo, but because again, it's copyrighted, you can't. So this is again the problem. So when you take photos, there might be many different issues that may be at stake. The good thing about having a phone is that you can also take photos of yourself. This seems to be an old habit among the it seems to be, narcissism is not new, of course, and it's true that the question is not whether or not you want to expose yourself or make selfies of yourselves. Again, today, if you take photos, it's not only for the purpose of making photos, it's to share them, and this is the key topic today. You're not only making photos because you have this super powerful tool in your pocket, you want to make them because you want to share them. You will share them the way you want, and if it's a selfie, well, it's fine. If it's something else, it's okay. I have thought that maybe the reason why so many people are making selfies, for example, British people made 1.2 billion selfies last year, it might also be due to copyright reasons or copyright concerns. You know that in UK, until October 2014, it was forbidden to make any private copying. You could not copy music for yourself, you could not copy movies for yourself, you could not copy anything. It's only in October 2014 that the law changed. So private copying suddenly became possible for Brits, for British people, and then it was quashed by the High Court in England in July. So they don't have private copying anymore. They only enjoyed private copying for 19 months. But I believe that might be the reason why they can only make photos of themselves. Because if you make photos of yourself, then in that case you're not infringing on someone else's right. But that's a different story. Still, what we say is that people like to make photos of themselves, of others, of food. This is an interesting story. It's not sausages anymore. It's something that was in the press a few weeks ago on whether or not you can take photos in Germany, because in Germany the chef may assert his rights on what he's created, etc. We'll go back to this, but again, the idea is to share cultural moments, to share social moments. You need photos. That's the basic expression today. We are sharing not through text, we are sharing mostly through photos, and we share. In 2013, the number of pictures shared every day was about 800 million. Every day, about 800 million in 2013. And that was 2013, but at the speed at which things evolved, last year, it was thought that about 1.8 billion photos, pictures, were shared every day. 1.8 billion. Thank you for making a picture while I'm saying this. I hope you're sharing it right now, right? Yes. So this is it. What really is changing is that everyone's making photos, and most of the creations being made, not most, 99% of the creations being made right now, be it photos, be it blog posts, be it tweets, be it videos, etc., all made by people like you and me. 99% of the copies being made are not made for commercial purposes, etc. So really, the scope of the center of creativity, the center of gravity of creativity has completely changed. Most of the copyright laws that we still apply today were taken at a time when it was in the end of the 19th century, when there was only a few people who could write, only a few people who could take photos. Maybe the movies were not invented yet. So this is really what has changed since then. Now it's everyone's power, everyone's capacity to create, and everyone is shifting inside this strange world of copyright. And again, this is something which is changing. The center of gravity of creativity has changed, but not the law. I was speaking of photos. I'm working for a company which owns YouTube. On YouTube, it's not about images, but about videos. Every minute, 400 hours of videos are being uploaded. So this is 15, it means 100 hours. okay? And if we wait until half a minute, that would mean 200 hours. I mean, that's extremely impressive. And again, all of what will be uploaded to YouTube will probably be subject to copyright. Again, if you look at the standards that court found to establish what is standard for copyrightability, what you saw in the German court ruling earlier, again, about everything can be copyrighted, and about every minute of every hour of video uploaded to YouTube can be. And so this means that, again, for all of these videos, for all of these pictures, they're all copyright questions that will be raised. A few weeks ago, I read this story. It was in the press. These are fans. Fans like to engage on YouTube with celebrities, etc. So we are in Italy. And in Italy, the Foo Fighters, it's a rock band, have not toured for a while. And so the fans really would like to have the Foo Fighters come, and because this is the economy of attention, they want to get the attention of the Foo Fighters and say, well, look, we really want you here. We really, really want you here. So what they did is they organized a tribute, and here they played a song. So this slide is clickable, and we could see the video, but I'm afraid that if we click on the video, we will see ads first. So I'm not sure I can skip the ad from where I am, so I won't show you the... Of course, I'm working for a company which makes money through ads, so I'd be happy to show it, but maybe I won't do it here. Again, what are these people doing? They genuinely, they sincerely want to have the Foo Fighters come, and they want to perform one of the songs to say, well, look, we are 1,000 here, we'd like you to come, and this is how we want you to know this. They organize this. What is this? From a copyright perspective, it's a public performance of a work. And if it's a public performance of a work, you need to get the authorization prior to organize the event. And if you need the authorization for the live event, you will also need an additional authorization for putting this on YouTube, etc., etc. And not only an authorization for Italy, but because it's on YouTube, it's worldwide, etc. So this is the issue here. For every video, there are clearing issues, there are many copyright issues, which are absolutely impossible to solve for someone who, again, probably has no idea what copyright is, probably has no idea where to go to ask for these questions, doesn't have time, etc. And basically, this is at the opposite of the idea of, well, I just want to say to someone I love her. Okay, just want to say to the Foo Fighters, I love them, and this is the way I do it. So if copyright is on the way, this is really an issue. This is really a problem. And again, it's happening for every creation being made, every creation being uploaded on Flickr, on YouTube, elsewhere. It's really our daily problem here. It's also true of all the creations. I was mentioning videos for YouTube. We also mentioned memes. Recently, for the photo that is at the bottom of this slide, a photo which is owned by Getty Images, because this photo was the source of a meme. Getty Images struck down on every people who had posted the meme that was created on the basis of the original photo, etc. So again, for forms of social expression which are born on the web, such as memes, we also see that copyright can be on the way. And again, this is an issue. And it's also an issue why? Because we don't know exactly what the things are. We don't know exactly what a meme is. From a legal perspective, sometimes it can be a parody, sometimes it can be a derivative work, etc. So, I mean, these new and cool forms of expression are hard to define from a legal perspective. And because it's hard to define, it's even harder to clear the rights or to question how to find answers to how to address them. So what are we speaking about? That's also the question. It's not only about everyone making photos, everyone making videos. It's also people remixing stuff. And can we remix? And I saw with irony that in the title of the conference, right to remix is written with a question mark. And this is a key question, and people have worked on this. I mean, the most advanced scholars has worked on the question, is it possible or not? And in this report that was released last year, a report for the Commission on what is it? What is user-generated content? It's interestingly, it's intriguing to read that even the best copyright scholars have have a hard time knowing exactly what you're speaking of, have a hard time putting things in category. And if you don't put things in category in law, you're dead. It means it doesn't exist. And if it doesn't exist, well, in the copyright world, it means it's probably impossible to do it. So that's also the problem, forms of expression. So it means that even though, for example, the European Commission wants to solve the question of everyone's creativity, knows that there's an issue to fix here, the problem is that it's hard to address it with the proper terms, with the proper terminology. And that is also a problem because if the next step is to allow all these kinds of uses, we need a copyright exception. And for copyright exception to exist, it also means that we need to have words which are put on phenomena. Which words? So exceptions are key to allow uses, to allow sharing. Without an exception to copyright, and you all know this, you can go to jail, basically. That's the story. Copyright is an exclusive right. Copyright is the right for someone to exclude others from using one's property. So there are exceptions for different things. For example, one of the most socially accepted exception is for people who are partly blinded to be able to access work. If I can enlarge something on a screen, if I can reproduce a book so that the font in which it will be reproduced will be larger, etc., that is a treatment of a work which supposes an exception. So there's an exception in the 2001 European Copyright Directive for people who need to access works. This exception is written, that's the B here, it's written with 29 words. Okay, it's well, member states can find ways for partly blind people to access works. Member states locally implement the directive, and they do it as they want. And Martin, the first Martin who was on stage this morning, briefly addressed this. This is how Denmark did it. So it means it's not 29 words anymore. It's 227. It's not the worst scenario. This is France. So that's 414 words. Again, it means that the longer the provision will be, the less exception there is, the less freedom there is. Because if you really want to prevent someone from doing something, you really put frames or barriers everywhere. So the longer the exception is, the smaller freedom you have. And also it means that is particularly ironic here because it's about someone's ability to access a work and for someone to know whether or not it's possible to enlarge, for example, something on a screen, you will first need to go through these complex set of words that you don't understand. It's even more depressing when you know that this is supposed to be read by people who are partly blind. So that's even worse, you know, so that is really a problem too. So exceptions exist, exceptions are there to allow people to use and share freely, but when we look at them carefully, we see that the truth in applying the exceptions is limited. So what is it possible to do? How can we share, how can we access works? Today in Europe, there are 21 exceptions, but for users, 20. 20 copyright exceptions in a directive on copyright, which was taken in 2001, then was progressively implemented by member states. And because exceptions are optional, member states had the freedom not to implement the exceptions, not to encourage sharing or using of works. 20 optional exceptions, what does it mean? It means that each state has the possibility to implement just one, or just A and C, or just A and D, or just A, E, and G, for example. And if you combine all this, in the end you have more than 1 million possibilities per state. So you have to multiply this by 28, which is the number of member states, and you have the actual depiction, the landscape of what exists today. And I'm not speaking of how member states are implementing the exception, how Denmark and France decided to implement the somehow clear exception on access to works by visually impaired people. So that is the situation today. It means that if you're a European user of YouTube and you want to put something on YouTube, maybe you are aware of the local law, maybe, but you have no idea how it applies in all European member states, not speaking of what's happening elsewhere. So, and here I wave at Eva because you had about the same slide for cultural institutions. This is a table which shows which states decided to implement what. I'm really proud of this because it's the first time I'm showing this. It's the first time there was a study on this. We had an intern this summer, Anna Rosen, who worked on this. We wanted to have a picture of the fragmentation of exceptions. So this is the table. This is this is sort of the ranking of countries which implemented this or that exception. And you see, this is an idea of fragmentation that applies. We don't even have a uniform approach to user-generated content, to social uses of works in Europe. So, this is the crazy situation, again, in which anyone is today when this person wants to know more on what to do. And it's not only about users, individual users. It's about everyone, institutional users, not cultural institutions, maybe others. There's this really, again, ironic disclaimer on the European Parliament website on the fact that you cannot find photos of the European Parliament on the European Parliament website because of copyright issues. And I find it probably funny that this, someone put that on Twitter in June. That was about the moment the European Parliament was discussing the so-called freedom of panorama exception. And so it was, well, all things were mixing here. But so exceptions are missing clearly, and we still don't have it. The Parliament is not going to that direction. The Commission, the Commission which is working right now on reopening the copyright directive, is not working on this, etc. So it means that we will probably gonna live with this for years again. And again, it means how big the gap is between what users expect and what lawmakers are actually working on. Another crazy situation which I still don't know how to deal with is the fact that most of the e-books lending is looked at exactly like a physical book. So if you have your library and you have a digital copy of a book, you can only lend it to one person at a time, exactly as if it were a physical book. And this is, for example, something I read in one of the regulations in UK, where it's written it's a digital library, a library in London, which is regulated by this, the fact that you can only lend one book at a time, and again, this at a time where profusion, where abundance should prevail. That's really what the web and what the digital world is about. So it shows again how crazy copyright laws can be sometimes. And Martin, you showed that again this morning. Also, it was interesting to look at you say, well, we help you know whether or not this is something whether or not this is in the public domain. Thanks for doing this, because it also shows that if you really want to know what status of a work, you have to go through this kind of thing. Again, it shows that when there are few pictures which show the complexity of copyright, these pictures are always depressing. And again, this is the situation in which everyone is now, everyone. So that's the issue. So the problem is that, well, we look at this, my call, or natural conclusion would be, well, let's make it simple. It's for everyone. It should be as simple as, I don't know, a red light at the crossroads. If it's red or green, it's easy to understand. Or as an icon on the Creative Commons licenses, that's easy to understand. This is, I believe, the direction in which copyright should go. The first thing is that I believe that if we had to change things, I added these slides because Merete wanted me to offer also practical conclusions, but I'm not lecturing you here. So at least when it comes to what we can do without asking authorization, it should be written in plain language. It could be easy to understand, not written into the legal words that only lawyers use. It should be simple, because if the law is not intelligible, nobody will obey to it. It's as simple as if it's too complex, nobody will care. And that's also the question. It's not only about copyright. It's really about living together in a democracy. If everyone accepts that this law exists, but no one will pay attention to it, no one will obey to it, that's also a democratic problem. Second thing is that if exceptions do not cope, do not match society's expectations, we also have a problem. It means that quickly, as soon as the exceptions are taken, if there are new needs, again, the people will simply not obey to them because the provisions in the law will not be up to date with what people expect to it. And also, given the pace at which technology is changing the world, given how disruptive technologies are, the exceptions should also be expressed, be framed in a way that allow them to be flexible, to offer flexibility to users, etc. I believe that are the three keys if you want to stop having a divorce from the society and lawmakers who are working on copyright. How that? Should it be lawmakers? Maybe not. Maybe those who are really the 99% who are working on or who are suffering from copyright, maybe that's the moment they should decide what should be the rules that govern them. Interestingly, last week in France, there was this initiative where the government decided to crowdsource a law. I think it's been done in Iceland too, but this law is about open data, etc. So everyone can comment the provisions that the government is working on, and in January, the proposals will be presented to the parliament if things go well. Problem is that this is being made by the government, and so there are things you can't do. So you have to be logged on, you have to create an account, etc. Maybe it should be better if it's a completely bottom-up solution. This is an example of what NURPA is doing in Belgium. They allow on GitHub people to comment the existing codes and suggest changes, such as edits to them. So maybe that's a way forward too. But again, if today 99% of the works being created, 99% of the copies being made, 99% of what copyright is about is coming from us, we should have our word on the future of copyright. Thank you.
Wow. I'm not sure I should be happy or extremely depressed now.